Sometimes the capitalist class just accidentally reveals what a bunch of horrid people they actually are. Now, many of you are probably familiar with the brand of meat, Tyson, Tyson chicken, Tyson pork, etc. Now, you'll recall along early this year, there was the whole COVID getting into people's food thing, and one of those being a Tyson pork plant. It has now been revealed that the Tyson pork processing plant in Waterloo, Iowa, not only did not take any precautions to try to protect their workers from COVID-19 infections, not only did they force them to come to work even though they were sick with COVID-19, the bosses actually had a lottery where they were betting on how many of their employees would die from COVID. That's right. They knew their employees were going to die from COVID, and they were betting on how many of them would. If that's not a cold-blooded indifference to human suffering, what is? If this doesn't show the nature of the class relation, what does? Literally, they knew their people were going to die, and they were compelling them to work in the situation that was going to kill them. Now, in the plant, 1,000 people got sick, 6 dies, and 1 huge wrongful death suit have come out as a result of it, as well as majorly pissing off their union for the U.S. pork plant workers, the United Food and Commercial Workers. That's a fairly common workers union that you see. Now, so the local Tyson pork bosses, forced their workers to continue in these conditions that ended up costing 6 of them their lives, including one worker who vomited while on the job, on the production line. He was so sick he threw up. They made him continue to work. They wouldn't let him go home. Think about that. The guy is so sick he's throwing up at work on people's food, and still they won't let him go. Now, on top of this, the CEO of Tyson saw his wealth increase. This is the increase. That's not what he has, but how much it went up by $635 million. And yet, not a single cent went to personal protective equipment. Not one. He got an extra $635 million during that time. And not one iota of concern was made for his workers at all. Nothing at all. So, as a result of this coming out, the wrongful death lawsuit, they suspended the plant manager on suspended the local managers on November 19th, and they hired a very big DC law firm for their Covington and Burlington plants to conduct an independent investigation, according to the Associated Press. So they're investigating themselves to see what these local plants did. Now, what's the great part about this? Not only are they essentially paying for an investigation into themselves, Obama-era Attorney General Eric Holder is the guy who is conducting the investigation. Now, you'll remember Holder. He's the guy who investigated Wall Street for fraud and all the other crimes they committed, and found that they could pay a couple of $1 million in fines, but not one banker went to jail. This is the guy who's going to be investigating the local bosses for Tyson. So I think we have a pretty good idea how this is going to turn out. Okay? And keep in mind that no financiers went to jail for all the fraud and crimes that they committed during the Great Recession. Even the guy... Even all of the deregulation leading up to it, nothing happened. But the major story here is, for every one of those workers with Stockholm Syndrome, who love the capitalist system, who deny the very nature of the class relations in the system, this is what they think of you. This is the cold-blooded indifference that they have towards you. They do not care about you at all. Not to any degree whatsoever. When you go in there and we hear all this crap of all the jobs that I've had, you know, telling us how we're one big corporate family and we're all in this together, and if we succeed, you succeed as well. Yeah, right. This is their real face. They see you as something to bet on when you die. And I love that capitalist mentality. Well, workers and capitalists, you know, they're in a symbiotic relationship. They both need each other to survive. Well, you know, a little bit of a secret there. We don't need the bosses; they need us. I mean, if these guys are already betting on how many of you are going to die because they didn't give you any protection equipment, I think that speaks pretty clear to what they really think of you. And there's your corporate family, and there's your symbiotic relationship and how much they really care about you. Well, the capitalist cares about his workers because he wants them to do a good job and to succeed. And I don't know how much of a bigger middle finger you need to have to the working class other than this. So other than that, I don't really have anything more to say. I mean, this isn't even something that I needed to do commentary on. I mean, this is pretty obvious just from what happened. So let's keep that in mind the next time a corporation or a job tries to tell you that we're all one big family.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.